of this life. I won't turn back, I know you are near, and I will fear no evil, for my God is with me, and if my God is with me, whom then shall I fear? Whom then shall I fear? Oh no, you never let go, through the calm and through the storm. Oh no, you never let go, in every high and every low. Oh no, you never let go, Lord, you never let go of me. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, your perfect love is casting out fear.
All right, it is 7 o'clock. Time for us to get started. I'm just waiting. I'm telling you. All right, a couple things coming up this week and weekend. There's a Senior Saints movie tomorrow at 2 o'clock in the Family Life Center. Bring your own drink. We'll have some popcorn here, and come and be ready for that. Friday and Saturday is the ladies' WAC meeting in Nebo, or state meeting in Nebo, North Carolina. If you'd like to go to that, you can talk to Miss Elaine Chandler about when they're leaving. She is driving a van, and just let her know, and they'll be going, spending the night, coming back on Saturday. And then Saturday, Brother Daniel has a teen service project from 9 o'clock to 1 o'clock. So you can see Brother Daniel about that if you have teenagers involved. Next Monday night is our juniors visitation from 1 to 6. For grades 1 to 6, it's from 6 o'clock that night till 8 o'clock, so bring money for dinner. So they'll go and visit a few houses, and then they'll stop and eat. And then also out in the Welcome Center, which is not on the paper, there is this WAC Ladies Timeless Tea. There is a sign-up list that they put out in the Welcome Center, so if you're able to go and be a part of that, please sign up so they can get an estimate of how much stuff they need to prepare for. And so please sign up on that. That's coming up shortly. Homecoming, May 19th. The Lord family will be here singing for us. We'll take a special love offering for them to help with expenses that they have for them. And so please come and be a part of that as well. So please come. So there will be a special call business meeting, not this Sunday, but the next Sunday night. I think that is the 5th, Sunday night the 5th. So there'll be a special call business meeting on that night, so please be here for that as well. There is welcome, those signs that I've got on the table out in the Welcome Center. If you'd like to get one of those, I'm not going to have them out much longer, but they'll still be around. But if you'd like to get one, take it home, put it out. I've got one at my house in my yard, and I put it out there. And so just if you'd like to have one, just get one, take it, and use it. Some prayer requests just to bring up. Remember our unspoken prayer request. Pray for our unsaved family members and loved ones, those who may be sick. If you got a one call from me yesterday, there's several that I know of who are not doing too well. They're sick, just different, whatever this is that I've got and other things that people have. It's just going around, and there's a lot of it, and there's a lot of people that have it. So just pray for those. If you miss somebody, give them a call, check on them, make sure they're doing okay. Continue to pray for V. Diaz's mother and sister up in Maryland, Don Edwards' son and stepdaughter, Abby, who is in Tennessee right now. She had a weekend in Arkansas, visiting some churches and doing some different things. And she'll be in a board meeting next week, and then she has some more churches that she's going to be visiting while she's in Tennessee. So just keep her in your prayers. Margie McGowan, Miss Barbara Stocks, Margie Woolard, Sandra Buck, Jean Smith, Miss Chris Sadler. All of these ladies all just have different health issues that they battle with, and just keep them in your prayers. Check on them if you can. Eddie Moss and his kidney and back troubles. I think, as far as I know, his back troubles is doing a lot better now, but he's still the kidney issues, so keep him in your prayers. Beverly Adams' sister, Pat Meekins, Julie Smith's sister, who's in hospice, Lois Corey's boys, and Hardy Ray Sr., Timothy Webster's mother, who has cancer, and Billy Campbell's sister. He's going back and forth a lot in visiting with her, and so just keep him in your prayers. He's seen a lot of road time, and so he just, I know it's wearing him out from just our conversations, so keep him in your prayers. Pray for our Awana and our teens, our young adults that are all having classes back in the back right now. Keep them in your prayers. Eric Pushman, a friend of mine, he did go to the doctor this past week. Everything, I mean, not a whole lot of changes that he's had. He's still battling with this leukemia, hasn't seen a lot of improvement. I mean, he is feeling somewhat better, but he's not seen a lot of improvement as far as where it's at. So keep him in your prayers. Sydney and Drew, who will be leading an E-team with a bunch of teenagers this summer. Keep them in your prayers. Chuck Warren went to the doctor yesterday for a checkup thing, and they said the cancer is still shrinking and going down. There's one spot that was like gone, and the other spot was going down. So that's very good, but keep him in your prayers as he's still going through these things. Linwood Ambrose, continue to keep him in your prayers as he's going through special treatments. Jesse Smith's friend Blaney Taylor, who has cancer in the kidney. Brenda Gillum's daughter Christy and health needs there. Richard James's friend Irina, her mother Maria, who is trying to get surgery there in Russia and different places, and just keep them in your prayers. Marty Martin's grandson Malachi and his brother-in-law. Marty mentioned a few weeks ago his brother-in-law who fell, hurt his back, so keep him in your prayers. Bob and Jan Burrows, just different health issues that they both have been going through. Adrian Boyd's aunt, Sandra Boyd, has brain cancer, and she's in hospice. Beverly Adams' granddaughter, Daria, I guess is how you say that. You guys are not helping me. Who's going through depression issues. Ashley Harris's daughter-in-law's grandfather, who has lung cancer. Elizabeth Harris's niece, Georgia Sharon, who has Crohn's disease. She is doing better? Good. Miles Alzad, the little baby, he's health problem. He has a lot of health problems. He was here this past Sunday. I have noticed some that she has been occasionally leaving him in the nursery with some workers, giving them special instructions and different things. So that is a good thing. She's feeling a little able to do that. Gives her a break. But just pray for them. That's just a family that we need to minister to the best we can, if we can. So please keep them in your prayers. Bonnie Rogerson and her mother Sarah, keep them in your prayers. Barbara Hardison, who is still recovering. She has come into the office this week, yesterday and today. And so that has been a hallelujah time. So we're praying for that, and just continue to keep her in your prayers. Jay Dixon has asked us to pray for Austin Cherry, who's battling cancer in his leg. Hunter Moore, who's a relative of Erica Ormans, who has some brain issues from a fall that he had. Gwen Harris's uncle, who has stage 4 cancer, and her cousin, who also has cancer and having surgery April the 19th, and I have not heard how that surgery went. Do you know how that went, Chris? Okay. So just keep her cousin in your prayers. Bobby Hollis, still waiting to get this hand surgery stuff done. David Fix, trying to get back surgery scheduled, still having problems there. Mandy Curry, who is Jane Fix's daughter, who's been coming to church here and joined our church. She's having neck surgery on April the 30th. So keep her in your prayers as she goes through that time. Abby and Anderson Potter and their baby. Abby has been admitted into the hospital there in Greenville. They have got her blood pressure under control where they want it to be, but she's still being monitored, and they're not going to let her leave until the baby comes. And so just keep them in your prayers as they go through this time. Tyler Respis, I put one call out about him the other day. He's still pretty sick. Little boy, he had a bad ear infection, maybe a virus along with that in causing the ear infection, but he has been vomiting and a lot of different things, and they don't think he's been vomiting some blood, but it's not from something. It's just because of the irritation in his throat, and so he's been vomiting some of that. But they said today has been a better day for him, and so just keep Tyler in your prayers, just a sick little boy. Any other requests that I may have mentioned? Yes, ma'am.
My sister Sandy, she's having skin cancer surgery on Wednesday. And also, I just wanted to say that I saw somebody stop at the corner where we were on a corner, and that church sign is on the corner, and they stopped and they stayed there for a minute or two. So I think maybe they were looking at that sign, so it works.
There you go. Good. So your sister Sandy is having skin cancer surgery next Wednesday?
Wednesday, yeah.
Yeah.
Just kind of worried about it. So just keep looking.
All right. Anybody else? Prayer requests? Say that again?
Gene Meekins, he used to attend church here, his wife Debbie, and he's got kidney cancer, and they're operating on him tomorrow.
All right. Gene Meekins is having kidney cancer surgery tomorrow, so please keep Gene Meekins in your prayer. He's not going to mention it, but Wayne Hardison's foot, ankle, leg, something, he's got a hurt leg, so keep Wayne in your prayers. You watch.
Go ahead and say it.
I was sitting in the Welcome Center watching Barbara and Wayne come in, and I didn't know who was limping worse. Don't get me coughing now. So just keep them in your prayers. Anything else? All right, let's pray. God, thank you so much for your mercies that you give us every day. And God, we don't deserve what you give us, and God, yet you're still there to supply our needs and help us. And so, God, we thank you for that. God, we thank you that Elizabeth's sister is doing better. And so, God, we ask that you continue to be with her and help this to continue to get better. And so, God, we thank you for that. God, I pray for these other requests that we've mentioned tonight. God, for Abby and Anderson in the hospital, or Abby's in the hospital, and this baby, Lord, I pray that Abby will continue to do well, and the baby will continue to grow, and that the baby be born with no issues, no problems, Lord. So we lift them up to you. God, for baby Tyler, Lord, who's been sick pretty bad here with some bad ear infections, Lord, I pray that you'll just be with him as well. God, I pray that you will give him healing that he needs to feel better. And God, be with his mom and dad as they're trying to take care of him as well. God, for Cindy Manessa's sister who is having the surgery next week, Lord, and she's nervous about, Lord, I pray that you will have your way in that, Lord. Bless her. God, bless the doctors and surgeons as they take care of these things, and just give them what they need to do to take care of this. God, for Gene Meekins, who'll be having kidney cancer surgery tomorrow, Lord, I pray that you'll be with him, the doctors as well. God, for Wayne and his foot and with the problem that he's been having, Lord, with that, I just pray that you'll help for that to heal and go away so he'll be able to get around like he should. God, we thank you that Barbara's being able to move and get out and do things, Lord, so we thank you for the progress that has happened there. God, for a lot of these other requests that we have mentioned, Lord, I just pray that you will touch them. God, for the ones who are sick right now, I pray that you will just give them healing, Lord. I know some of them have got it worse than others, and some of them have had it for a long time, and it won't go away, and it's just keeps going around. And God, I just pray that you'll give healing where it's needed. God, for those that may be traveling and going around different places, Lord, I pray that you'll be with them, give them safety. And God, we thank you for the blessings that you have given to us and our church, and we ask for your continued blessings again. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, so tonight as we look at our bad joke of the day, I got a question for you here. Why was Goliath so surprised when David hit him with the slingshot? He didn't hit him with a slingshot, but the rock with the slingshot. Okay, that you're digging into it a lot farther than okay. But the reality is the thought had never entered his head before. I thought that was pretty good. All right, which servant of God was the worst lawbreaker in the Bible? Moses. He broke all 10 commandments at once. Man, see, I tried to get these little biblical Christian joke things, and you guys are just not giving me the... All right, so we'll just go on here. All right, Church in Babylon. Looking at this book study that we've been going through, we're in chapter 7, the first part of this, and tonight we're going to be looking at Islam, immigration, and the church. This is just a start of this chapter, so we won't get all the way through it, and so we're going to be talking more about immigration and Islam tonight, and then we'll get farther along into the church as we go along. But we have seen a lot of images on TV. Immigration. It's a hot subject right now. It's going to be a political subject for November. It's just a lot of stuff that's going on and happening. We see hordes of refugees who are trudging through the water, who are going through the dirt just to seek refuge, some of them from war, from persecution, from starvation. Now, could there be mingled in with them people who have bad plans? Yes. But a majority of them, I feel, probably are just trying to seek refuge, trying to get away from wherever it is they are and try to do better for their life. And we see these things happening. If we're not moved by this spectacle that's happening in our country and around the world, it's usually because many of us in the Western world, including Christians, have hardened hearts that turn away from basic compassion and the Spirit of Christ. That compassion that we have a lot of times has been jaded. I will tell you this, I have people that will come in here to the church seeking help for different problems or different things that they may be going through. And I've seen so many people that have come through, and a lot of them have lied to me. A lot of them have not been truthful, which would be lying. And they've done all of these things. And so it makes you a little jaded when someone comes in. You're thinking, okay, what kind of thing are they looking for now? And you never know who is really needing help and who is not needing help. And so you try to help them and just let God take care of it. I helped one guy just a week or two ago. And I told him, I said, now look, let me tell you something. If you're lying, that's between you and God. Because I'm here to help you out, and I'm going to help you best I can here. But if you're lying, God will know, and God will take care of it. So I just want you to know that. And then I left. So we'll let God take care of those things. Because you don't know what's going to happen.
They don't give a flip about God right now.
Some people don't. For many of us, it's not necessarily a matter of a lack of concern, though, but it's a feeling of helplessness, a feeling that there's nothing we can do, to alleviate the problems of these people who are going through this stuff. I mean, I live in eastern North Carolina. I'm not even close to any of these borders. I'm not close to any of these places. So what can I do about it? The language is different. The culture is different. The distance is different. Their religion is different than ours. And so, we have a separation that has been built between us, and we just don't know what to do. But we see images of people trying to flee from safety. And I picked some of these pictures just because they have little children with them. And they're trying to get someplace, they're trying to do something. But there's thousands of people trying to cross borders, and it's not just in the United States. A lot of times, what we do and we look at these different things like this, we only picture what's happening to us right here in the United States, but this is going on all around the world. There are now more than 1 million refugees displaced somewhere around the world. 1 million refugees around the world of people that are trying to get away from wars, from people getting kicked out, all these things that are going on. Again, we think of our southern border. But the conflict in Ukraine has sent people fleeing the Ukraine. Disaster in countries such as Afghanistan, Syria, Yemen, Somalia, Ethiopia, Venezuela, all of those places add to the crisis of people trying to get away from the conflict that's all around them. The money problems, the people problems, the government problems, just everything that's happening. They're just looking for a place to get away and feel safe. There are conflicting opinions as to what the United States should be doing. Not just for refugees, but for immigrants from all over the world who seek to come and live among us. There's a lot of talk of one way or the other of what we should do. I mean, we look in Ukraine. This is a picture from Ukraine of people trying to get away. Their home has been destroyed. They have nothing to do, and they're trying to just survive, and it gets cold in Ukraine. It's not like our southern border in Mexico. It does get chilly down there, but it's not like in Ukraine where it snows and puts a bunch of snow on the ground. Families trying to flee from wars, people that they know who have died. Many agree that the U.S. immigration policies are inconsistent. That's a nice word for it. It's inconsistent, often bound with red tape for those who want to legally come into our country and make it their home, versus people who are just coming in. And so we see a lot of this stuff that's happening. There's inconsistencies all over the place. The purpose of this chapter in this book is narrow in its focus. Dr. Lutzer, he wants to clarify that in the matter of immigration, as well as the entrance of refugees into the country, the role of the church is very different from the role of the government. And we have to remember that. We are not the government, we are the church. And so our role will be different than what the government does. Now, we can put people in the government sometimes, and we can take people out of the government sometimes, but we are still the church. There are things that the church can do that the government cannot do. But there are a lot of things that the government can do that's not within the jurisdiction of the church. So we have to make sure that we know that there's a difference between us and the government. We are not them. Dr. Lutzer believes that many evangelicals are confused on this point, the difference between the government and the church and what we should do. And this has led to disparaging comments, reactions on both sides of the immigration debate. There's people that get mad and fuss and fight and argue and jump all over things. They'll take Bible verses and they'll use Bible verses for immigration. They'll use Bible verses against immigration. They'll use all of these things that they're coming for, and they're just battling against each other. But we need to have some kind of understanding of what's happening and what's going on. Also addressed in this chapter is the related issue of the role of Islam in America, because it poses some special concerns for us because of what we can think of with Islam and Muslims, but it also gives us some special opportunities. And that's what I want us to kind of look at a little bit as we go along tonight. Certainly the church of this nation should welcome the privilege of building relationships with those people who come to our shores from other countries. Regardless of their religious backgrounds, regardless of what country they're coming from, regardless of who they are, what they look like, the color of their skin, we should look at it as a privilege. Hey, they're coming to us, and we can reach out and help them. And there are some churches who have started to help immigration people, and they're trying to do different things, find them housing, find them places to live, find them food, clothing, different stuff for them. And so there are people that are trying to help, and there are some churches that are heavily involved in that. But our opinion of Islam should not stand in the way of our commitment to befriend Muslims in ways big and small to show them the love of Jesus. We may think of Islam and Muslims in certain ways, especially after 9/11. But we still need to show people the love of Jesus, regardless of their religion, regardless of who they are. I was reading something today. I have a board meeting Monday and Tuesday in Tennessee with Free Baptist International Missions, and one of the reports that was given was talking about in another country how there was a Muslim girl who her father was heavily a big Muslim, and he was very much wanted his family to be Muslims and do all of those things, and he died. And so the daughter went to the mother, and she said, "Mom, is Dad in heaven?" And she goes, "Well, I hope he's done enough stuff to be able to get to heaven and warrant that blessing of being in heaven, and we hope so." And so that really confused the daughter, because her whole life she'd been brought up, if you live a certain way, you do certain things, and you do this, that paradise is waiting for you as a Muslim follower of Islam. And so it really made her depressed, because she didn't know where her place would be at now and what was going to happen to her in the future and what her future would hold. And when she asked her mother again about what is my future going to hold, and she said, "You're just going to marry a nice Muslim man, and you're going to have a good Muslim family, and that's what you're going to be. That's your future." And that really depressed her. She found a Christian friend, another young lady who was a Christian. And this lady smiled and laughed and had a good time, had a good outlook on life, enjoyed life, loved God, and would share with this girl about her Jesus and about her God whenever the opportunity came along, and she would share those things with her. Well, this girl has now, from this very strong Muslim home, has now become a believer in Christ. The prayer request that was sent to us was, pray for her and her family relationship now, because now there's a tie between them. And there's some hardships going on there. So pray for this young lady. And so we can still witness. We can still love just because they come from a different background of us. There was a time when we sent missionaries to the Muslim world. But now God is bringing more and more Muslims to our world. They're coming to our shores. They're coming to our country. The United States has an estimated 4.5 million Muslims in the United States, which is 1.34 of the total population of our country. So it's still a very small amount when you look at the total, compared to the total population, but it's still a lot of people, 4.5 million. North Carolina has the 11th largest, and I wouldn't have thought this necessarily, but North Carolina has the 11th largest population of Muslims in the United States, with an estimation of 131,000 Muslims, which is 1.25% of the population of North Carolina. So there's a lot of Muslims that are just in our country. Matter of fact, unless they've moved here recently, right around the corner is a Muslim family that just lives right just, I could throw a rock, well, I don't know if I could now. I almost could hit it with a rock if I threw it from church property. So there's just right around here, there's Muslims around us. They're all over the place. And the intention of this chapter, as we get into things, and you're going to hear some different things, is not to create fear, but it's to help the church understand Islam's view of immigration and radical Islam's long-term agenda in relation to immigration in the United States. There are some things that is going on. There's some things that are happening. And for us as a church, as someone that we need to be witnessing and sharing the love of Jesus with even Muslim people, we need to understand what's happening in our country and what's happening around us. This chapter also hopes to show how Islam's intentions can be an opportunity for the church. How can we use these things, these intentions that they have in the church? And it should be made clear that followers of Islam in America can be very diverse, both in ethnicity and in adherence. Just because someone says that they're Muslim does not mean that they're trying to blow up America. They're not trying to blow up their church or some place downtown or something. Just because they say they're Muslim does not mean that they're trying to do that. Many Muslims have acclimated and accepted the freedom of religion here, and so they practice tolerance and respect for other religions. There's many Muslims that do that. I'm not saying that every single one, but I'm saying there's many that do. There's also, though, the vocal minority of Muslims that attempts and sometimes succeeds to exert a great deal of influence among the Muslim population to get them to follow more extreme paths. So there's a lot of people on both sides of this, but the majority is going to be people that don't adhere, and you'll see some of that here in just a minute. These groups take the Quran and the Hadith, the sayings, which is the sayings of Muhammad, literally. And so they are committed to the supremacy of Islam in America. And so we see that happening around us. Radical Muslims often condemn moderate Muslims, who in other countries, moderate Muslims in other countries, face imprisonment and death for voicing opposition to certain teachings in the Quran. So if they're against the Quran, if they don't like what it says, they don't like some of the things, they risk going to prison and they risk death. There are women in other countries who, hey, if I don't want to wear this coverings over my head and I go out in public, I should be able to do that, but they go out in public and they could be stoned to death because they didn't have their heads covered. And so we see those things happening, and so that can happen here. According to Pew Research, the majority of U.S. Muslims say that there is more than one true way to interpret Islam's teachings. Basically, the majority would be 69%. 31% say, no, there's only one true way to interpret the faith. And so the one true way that they say would be more of the radical Islamist. Islam has a well-developed doctrine of migration going back to the days of Muhammad, who migrated from Mecca to Medina in AD 622 to spread this new doctrine. So I just put this up here. So we see that this is in Saudi Arabia. Mecca is in Saudi Arabia. And he went on this journey to Medina, which was about 200 miles. And he went there for one reason only, and that was to spread the doctrine of Islam. And he wanted to spread those things. The Muslim calendar begins not with the birth or death of Muhammad, but with the date of his migration. And that illustrates the importance of spreading Islam by moving from one geographical location to another. Spread Islam. Spread these things. They have a better missions program than what many evangelicals have, because they will go into an area, they'll integrate this area into what they believe, and then they'll move and go to another place and just start spreading it around. And they'll leave the ones that they spread it here to take care of this area, and then they'll go somewhere else and let them take care of it and just spreading around.
Meanwhile, they eat boat
and then they can vote in people into, and that's where it's getting to.
That's where the takeover is going to come. And the reason Muhammad didn't go 200 miles out is because they say in the Bible Jesus only traveled 200 miles, and he's trying to be a copycat of that. Thus said the word of God.
That's what they say.
Yeah.
The event of migration is known as Hydra. And this model of migration is not for the purpose of assimilating into a host nation, but for colonizing and transforming these host nations or these host countries. We migrate, we go into these places not so that we can become them, so that they can become us. And that's what they're trying to do. In the Quran, a promise is given. It says, those who believe and adopt exile and fight for the faith in the cause of Allah, for them is the forgiveness of sins and provision most generous. The Hadith connects immigration with jihad. It says, and I command you with 5 that Allah has commanded me, listening, obeying, jihad, hydra, and jamaha, which is community. Jamaha is community. For Muslim extremists, the role of migration is critical to advance their agenda. So you got to remember these things and what's going on. More than the acts of terrorism. We see terrorism and we see those things. Those are bad things. But that's not what they're using to spread Islam. They're trying to migrate into different places. We can easily believe the false narrative that our main concern should be the prevention of terrorist attacks. And it should be. That is a big deal. It is an important role of law enforcement to prevent terrorist attack. We just don't want that to happen all over the place. But by no means should we think that terrorism is radical Islam's most useful weapon, because it's not. It's just a little bit of what they're trying to do. Many of these Islamic leaders decry terrorism. And they'll decry terrorism in an effort to take the focus off of a more effective and insidious strategy, namely to subdue the West by civilizational jihad, by moving in and making them adapt to what I believe. So they're trying to move into the country, move into different places to make them adapt to them. The Muslim Brotherhood is the oldest political Islamist group in the Arab world, and it was founded in Egypt in 1928 by Hassan al-Banna. This Islamic scholar and teacher envisioned this is what he said, a universal Islamic system of rule that could be attained by promoting Islam laws and morals and by engaging society through offering social services. So he wants to spread his rule and his beliefs all over, and that was the vision that he had by starting the Muslim Brotherhood. And although the U.S. State Department has not officially designated Muslim Brotherhood as a terrorist organization, now, if they have, I didn't know about it, and I even looked this up, and President Trump was trying to get that, and he was talking about doing those things in 2019, but I don't think it ever happened that the United States made them into a terrorist group. Egypt did in 2013, and in 2015, a British government review concluded this. This is what the British government review concluded. They said, membership of or links to the Muslim Brotherhood should be considered a possible indicator of extremism. So they're saying, in the UK, they're saying, hey, this is what's going on here. If they're part of the Muslim Brotherhood, they're probably extremist, is what they're saying. In 2003, the FBI uncovered the Muslim Brotherhood's multifaceted plan to dominate America. You get this here? You're staying with me here? You guys still awake? Because I know this can be boring. But they uncovered the Brotherhood's most multifaceted plan to dominate America through immigration, intimidation, education, community centers, mosque, political legitimacy, and establishing interfaith dialogue centers in our universities and colleges. So if you think about what's happening in our world today, on the news today, you'll see how these things are coming to light. You'll see what's happening. This was in 2003 that they uncovered this plan to do these things. Yes?
You left one thing out,
What did I leave out?
procreation.
Well, yeah, through procreation as well.
Lots of children.
I don't know that that was part of their official plan, but
People
yes.
in the United States don't. I mean.
Right. Well, that's
The only way our population grows is from people coming from Mexico and the Muslim community.
there's a lot of countries who they have multiple children, and their country continues to grow, but the United States usually goes with 2 and they're done.
The United States is growing. Yeah.
But it's growing through immigration.
Gender babies, come up, babies.
There's a lot of them. Yes.
There was a thing, and it was, through the internet, and it showed, a Muslim woman, and, she was talking and everything, and, what the whole plan was what you just said. They want to take over.
Right.
Basically. That's what they want to do. They want it, everyone here, children, whatever, will come to their religion.
Right. That is the overall plan, is to make the United States an Islamic country. That's the overall plan. And it's not just the United States. They want the world to become an Islamic world. There's a document confiscated by the FBI that outlines a 12-point strategy to establish an Islamic government on earth that is brought about by a flexible, long-term cultural invasion of the West. And that's what they want to do, is invade the culture, bring their culture in. Their own plans teach us the intrusion of Islam will erupt in multiple locations using multiple means. And so when you see these things and you hear about what's going on here, we live in our small little world here and we see what's going on just around us, but just some stuff that I looked up just for us right here, all right? East Carolina University, they have a Muslim Student Association. Its stated goal, and I got this straight off of their association place. Its stated goal is to educate the students and the faculty about Islam, as well as create an environment for the Muslim students to follow Islamic guidelines. That is what it says, stated on ECU website under this association. And so they have that. They state also that they hope to continue their traditions while building bridges within the university campus and the broader Greenville community. Let's build bridges in the community and bring them in and show them what Islam is and how they can be a part of these things. And that's what they state on the ECU website for the Muslim Student Association at ECU. That is 30 miles from us. And that's right there, and that's what's going on and spreading here. In eastern North Carolina, there are currently Islamic mosques in Greenville, New Bern, Wilson, Jacksonville, Rocky Mount, Goldsboro, Smithfield, Raleigh, and Cary, and I didn't keep going farther out. But there are Muslim mosque centers that they go and worship at just in those areas.
You see right now, about how you do one area, you go to the next?
Mm-hmm.
You see how it went to Raleigh, then Wilson, New Bern, Jacksonville, I mean.
The farther west you go, there's a whole lot more.
Yeah.
Near the top of the Muslim strategy is immigration. To be more specific, the first major point of their strategy states, it says, to expand the Muslim presence by birth rate, immigration, and refusal to assimilate to the other beliefs. We will not do what they want us to do. This strategy transformed Indonesia from a Buddhist and Hindu country to the largest Muslim-dominating country in the world. So they went in there, and that's what they did in Indonesia. Now, we're a lot bigger than the country of Indonesia, so it's taking them a lot longer, but that's what they did. They went in there to expand the Muslim presence by birth rate, immigration, and refusal to assimilate. As Europe has discovered, open borders for refugees may be viewed as a compassionate response to the humanitarian crisis that's going on over there right now with the wars and the bombings and all the things that are happening. But the long-term risks are there, and the consequences for opening their borders is coming in. We are learning that here in the United States. As Europe has discovered, open borders for refugees, they have long-term criminals. For example, in 2015, Europe experienced the biggest wave of displaced people since World War II. 1.3 million people were seeking asylum in 2015. But the crisis abated, which means it stopped or slowed down when Turkey agreed to block the flow of people going into Europe. So Turkey agreed to stop that, prevent people from going through. But it exposed deep divisions within the 28-member European Union over how to handle asylum seekers escaping conflict, escaping poverty in the Middle East and in Africa, and trying to come up into Europe. A lot of them are just trying to seek refuge from these things and find food and find jobs and find homes and find safety, but not all of them, but a lot of them are. They're trying to handle this conflict and then balance moral and legal obligations with anti-immigrant sentiment. That has become a similar challenge for us here in the United States. How do we balance moral and legal obligations with the anti-immigrant settlement and the things that are happening here? This right here was just a picture that I found, Europe immigration problems. And you see this is going on in Europe right now. This is a recent picture. We also see the U.S. immigration problems that we have here. So same thing. I mean, if you look at this picture, you see there's just people that they don't have any place to go, they're just coming. And you see this picture here, they don't have no place to go, they're just coming. And they're sleeping on the ground and sleeping in tents and sleeping in sleeping bags and trying to find any place they can just to lay down and rest. As early as the 1960s, the Muslim Brotherhood ideologue Saeed, I don't know how you say that last name, popularized Abdul al-Maduli's notion to Islamicize society. They're trying to turn society into Islam. Mudawi, a leading scholar of Islam who wrote the book Jihad in the Cause of Allah, said this: Islam is a revolutionary program to alter the social order of the whole world and rebuild it in conformity with its own tenets and ideas. He continues and he says, the purpose of Islam is to set up a state on the basis of its own ideology and program. This is what we want to do, is we want to change the world into Islam. They will fight in multiple ways to undermine the American Judeo-Christian values of democracy, freedom of religion, and things like that. And we see those things happening more and more if you watch the news. And listen, you can watch the news and be depressed. Or you can just, see some little headlines here and there and just go with that. But listen, it's depressing when you see what's happening in our country and what's going on all around with us. And I'm going to be speaking into that more on a Sunday here in the next few weeks. But it's very depressing what's happening. It's very depressing what's going on. Andrew McCarthy, who is a former chief assistant U.S. attorney, predicts that American leftists have paired up with militant Islamists to undermine national security and the nation's liberties. So that's what he was saying. This is a guy who's more in the know than us who sit around and look at the internet all day, all right? He knows a lot more about this stuff. Yes?
I'm sitting here back to bust.
Okay, go.
I don't believe for 1 second all the immigration that's going on in this country right now, open borders, is out of compassion.
That's right.
Not for 1 second.
No, I don't either.
I don't believe any of it is. I believe it's that right there, American leftists. And now this pro-Palestinian, I call them riots all over the place, it's just playing right into the hands of this.
Oh yeah,
They're
that's
playing right into the hands of them.
when I was going through this, because I actually wrote a lot of this and put this together last week because I was going to do this last week and I was sick. and so I wasn't here. But as I was doing this last week and then through the weekend and up till today and watching things that's happening, it's not just something that we need to, hey, this could happen. No, this is happening. This is going on right now. These things are in the process of going, and you see what's happening with some of our political leaders and their family members who are part of these things, and how they've reached into certain levels of government and what they're doing and how they're trying to do these things, and how our government is reacting to things that's going on, not just here in the United States, bringing people in, but how they're responding to things that's going on around the world as well. Yes?
That makes me wonder, why has the United States, they know this stuff. There's people that have known this stuff since the time it began. Why have they allowed the people that they know that that's the reason they're coming? Why have they allowed them to come in?
Power.
It's their agenda.
Power and money.
It's agenda, power, and money.
Sell
Yes.
the mama for $1, wouldn't they?
Some people would, yes. Jesse?
It's all politics. That's what Biden is fighting right now with the, Michigan and Minnesota. That's where Obama brought all the Muslims and put them in one group.
Mm-hmm.
That's
So
small
they got the
potatoes.
power to vote that state either way it goes.
Yes.
Let me add this to what's been said. Now, this might say this is not representative, but this is one person talking. Our firm has a client that is a doctor in Greenville. She is from Venezuela. She just recently told one of the people in our office that's friends with her, she said the United States looks exactly like Venezuela looked 30 years ago. She said it starts with the media and the education. The United States is headed right where Venezuela is now. And go read about Venezuela and see where it is now. 30 years ago, it was a democracy.
Well-
Now it's a totalitarianism.
Well, I can tell you that the direction that we are headed is not good. But here's the thing. And here's what we have to understand, and this is going beyond the lesson here for a minute. It doesn't matter who you elect in November. Now, it does, and I will vote for certain people, and I will vote for what I believe. But let me tell you this. Regardless of what happened, God is still in control. And as Christians, we need to understand and we need to realize God is still in control. Because a lot of times what happens is we'll bring politics into things that don't need to be involved in things because we are here as a representative of God. And sometimes what we do is we throw politics out there and we worship politics and we follow politics and we worship some man or some person who, they're going to be the savior. If we can elect them, they're going to save us all from this stuff. And no, nobody's going to save us except for God. And we have to remember that regardless of what happens. If your man wins or your man loses in November, God is still on his throne.
That's true, but we need to put our Christianity into politics.
We need to be involved in things, yes. But listen, regardless of what happens, God knows when his time is and when it's coming, and we still need to be witnessing and sharing Jesus with other people, even people we don't agree with and people that we don't see eye to eye with. Yes.
The Muslims and the Mormons and all, they do a much better job than we do as far as converts.
Oh, yeah.
Much better. If we were as strong and as dedicated as they are, where would we be today?
They don't have a choice. They
If we would see, man, you guys are just tearing me up here. Here's what hit me today. I heard someone else say this, so this is not Darren, but I heard this, okay? And I agree with it. We get so concerned with what's happening out there, we don't take care of our own homes. We take care of our own homes, that's where it starts. We're so worried about someone else's kid and someone else's thing that we neglect our own kids' spirituality. We neglect what we're throwing at them, what we're requiring them to do, what we want them to do, what we allow them to do. We're so focused on everything else that we're not trying to take care of our own kids. And our kids are going out there and they're not in church. They're not worshiping God. They're not doing what they need to be doing because we're so concerned about all this other stuff that we're not concerned about their soul.
But Darren, I'm going to take issue with that.
Uh-huh.
My kids were raised in Christian homes.
Right.
And we've talked about this, you and I, that you reach a point in the fork in the road. Which direction am I going to go? How my parents raised me, what I know about God, and what the world dangles before me. Therefore, if I don't take an interest in what the schools, what the government is trying to allow the kids to be influenced by, then I have failed as a parent. So it goes beyond my four walls. If, like the Democratic platform, you have to have something to base what you believe on. And there's no moral fiber at all in the Democratic platform. I think the Republicans are corrupt also, but their platform at least embraces biblical principles. That is outside the scope of my home. I have a responsibility to engage in that.
But that's a start now.
But what I'm saying though is I'm not saying neglect all of that. What I'm saying is what we've done many times is neglected this here at home. I'm not saying, oh, we shouldn't see what's going on in our schools and we shouldn't see what's going on in our government. We shouldn't do those things. But where's the priority at? Because we need to focus on the ones that are here with us. We see so many problems that have happened. And yes, my thing is when you vote, you need to vote. I think you should vote what the Bible stands for. And listen, just because some of these people say that they're Christian because they have a Bible verse and they got our religions about them, doesn't make them religious, doesn't make them a Christian. Listen, if we know anything, politicians will say anything to get the vote. They'll say anything for the Christian. Oh, Christian, hey, yeah. I got a new, I don't have one and I won't get one, but listen, you don't mix religion and the Bible. But there's a new Bible, Trump Bible, that's got the Constitution in it, and it's got the Declaration of Independence, and it's got all these things in the Bible that, not that they've added to the Bible, but, you open it up, and hey, there's the Constitution, there's that, all these things. But listen, we're under God's law. We're supposed to be following God. And for them to add that stuff there, and then say, hey, listen, you Christians, you need to come and you need to vote for me. Because I love God. I have my own Bible that you can get. Listen, I've got a Bible that I've had for years and years and years that doesn't have all that stuff in it, and it still says the same thing. God doesn't change. Yes, sir.
I don't know whether I get this exactly right or not, but in the Bible, from what I've read or understand, God says if you will turn away from your ways and call on me, more or less he'll fix things. But how are we going to do that with 10, 11 million people that don't believe in that coming to this country?
Well, we've got to get up and do something.
What?
I mean,
we're losing. What I'm saying is there's so many of them coming over that don't believe in Christianity.
oh yeah, I know.
That they're just they control the country more or less.
They can. That's why we have to, like what we're saying, we've got to vote people in. We've got to be involved in those things, but we can't get so involved that we miss what the Bible and the Word of God is trying to tell us to do. Yeah.
Look, I like to think I'm a good person, okay? And I sit there at night in bed thinking, and I say to myself, what would I do if I was somebody in Venezuela and I was depressed about this thing? What would I do?
Mm-hmm.
Okay? The good Lord blessed me to put me here and them there. But so many of them are coming over Venezuela from all reports, emptied their prisons and sent them all to us. They had to sign a paper.
Cuba did the
said they
same
would
thing.
not return to Venezuela. If they did, they would be killed.
Cuba did the same thing.
All right.
I know one thing. I don't care who's president of the United States, I have 8 every year. So, I'm still living hand in mouth. God's hand in my mouth, so let it be, let it be.
So the bottom line is, we need to convert them.
So here's
Don't let them convert us, but,
and we're gonna get more into the church's involvement
yeah.
in another Wednesday night.
Just like you said, there's that, family down the road.
Right.
And one time we did that little walk around praying for people. I went over and tried to talk to the kids in the yard, and the mother called them back in. And they've got this big sign that says, no trespassing. So they don't want you to come in. I don't think the men especially want the women to.
Right. So we have to be careful how we do things. Tammy?
But you have to think of this, because I know that we have students who are going to our schools. And although I don't agree with everything that's going on in the public school, I do know that my daughters have Muslim kids that they have an opportunity to witness to.
Right.
And while I don't agree with that, I feel that my children have an obligation to share Christ with the kids, though I don't believe the Islamic way. So we can't totally separate ourselves and just be upset with what they're doing. We have to carefully interact with them to show them Christ. And
Right.
by sometimes being obnoxious to them, I see that occasionally where I am. We are not showing the love of Christ.
Right.
And you
Well, that's
have
what
to
I was
show the love
asking,
of
how do
Christ.
we do that?
And we'll get there.
We will.
Not tonight, but we'll get there.
What the Bible says.
All right? This,
There's one more thing.
okay, one more thing, and I gotta finish up because it's almost 8 o'clock.
What I see on television, the ones that are crossing that border,
Mm-hmm.
there ain't no way in the world them people walk thousands of miles through a jungle, for some of them weigh as much as I used to.
Hey, I got you with all of that. There's so much inconsistency. There's so much political stuff that's going on. There's so much things happening. There's other countries that are taking them to here. Hey, we want to get rid of you, and we're going to bring you up here, and they'll take you over here. But we have to be careful with how we view things. And here's where I want to get.
A lot of
To
them
end.
Chinese.
Right. Despite the plans and the actions of radical Islam and other things, whether carried out through covert infiltration or through blatant violence and explosions, God is always in control of the world. He's always in control of these things. We only have to look again to the story of Daniel, okay, where during King Jehoiakim's reign, King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon besieged Jerusalem, and the Lord gave him victory. And we see that in Daniel chapter 1, verse 1 and 2. It says, in the 3rd year of the reign of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came to Jerusalem and besieged it. And the Lord gave Jehoiakim, king of Judah, into his hand with some of the vessels of the house of God, and he brought them to the land of Shinar, to the house of his God, and placed the vessels in the treasury of his God. At the same time, now listen, they were sitting there in their own country, minding their own business, living their life. And somebody came in and took over their land. And it says that God, the Lord, gave Jehoiakim, king of Judah, into Nebuchadnezzar's hand. I almost see with what's going on in our country, we're headed that same direction. At the same time, God gave Daniel understanding, knowledge, favor, the power to interpret the king's dreams. And like Daniel, Christians have an opportunity, even in our own Babylon that we're living in now, to stand firm and to serve God. That's what we should be doing. This is the opportunity we have. People are coming in, things are happening, we don't like everything. We need to stand firm and serve God. Stand firm and serve God with all we're doing. For years, many of us have prayed for closed countries all around the world. And we sent missionaries into Muslim countries. What if part of God's answer to our prayers for the Muslim world is to bring them to America to be introduced to genuine Christians and not the caricature promoted in their home countries of what they think Christianity is? What if God says, listen, all right, you pray for these Muslim countries, I'm going to send them to you. Witness to them, bring them to the Lord. I have a good friend of mine he lived in Afghanistan. He witnessed to Muslims. He's come back here, and now he started things. He lives in Oklahoma right now. John Weaver is his name, and he's still continuing to work with Muslims, and he still shares Jesus with them, and he knows what they think, and he knows what they believe. We have another guy that I know, Shane Davison, who is in southern France, where a lot of Muslims come from North Africa into southern France, and he is witnessing to the Muslims there. Jacob Austin, another young man who's getting married here in a couple months, and he is working in southern France with Muslims, and he's trying to share Jesus with these people and do these things. God is bringing people to them. We have a missionary right now who is working at the University of Illinois. And you think, a foreign missionary working at the University of Illinois? Yes, because he's working with foreign students who are coming from all over the world to these major universities. And he's working with them, trying to share Jesus with them, so that when he witnesses to them and shares Jesus with them, if they get saved, they'll go back to their countries and take Jesus with them. So we have these things that are happening and going on. We just have to know and see what's going on and what's happening. Muslim immigration presents many risks, but it also presents opportunities for us to be able to share about that. But before we speak about the role of the church in immigration, next time we're going to talk about the role of government in protecting our... See, we talked about this Islam, we talked about immigration, we talked about people that are coming. There's 3 steps in this chapter. Immigration that's coming, government's role, the church's role. So that's where we're going to get to when we continue going on through this chapter. Next week is the role of government in immigration, and that's what we'll look at next time. I don't know, can you?
Read the Quran. They had a big uphill.
I don't doubt that, but I don't know about that.
Does anybody else remember that taking place? You do? I was wondering if anybody else remember.
I don't doubt it. It's different things, required readings for different classes that you have, and you can, I mean, it's just going to be, what you get involved in.
If they didn't read it, it was told that they would fail that class, that course.
The Bible wasn't required.
Right. So we just, listen, we're headed, our country is headed in a dark direction. And the things that we see that's going on in our country today, listen, instead of us trying to predict, and this is what got me with the eclipse and all these different things that's going on here, instead of us trying to predict when is Jesus coming back, he could be coming back. Listen, Jesus could come back tonight. And so, I don't know if it's going to be in 40 days from now. I don't know if it's going to be today. I don't know if it's going to be in 40 years from now. But just in case it's tonight, I need to be sharing Jesus with the people that I need to be sharing Jesus with, because it could be tonight. And it may not be just that Jesus returns and we get caught up in the rapture tonight. It could be that on my way home tonight, somebody runs a red light up here and smacks into me and kills me on my way home. Those things happen. And it's not that I'm trying to scare us, but listen, we need to get a sense of urgency about sharing Jesus, especially in today's world that we live in, because we are headed in not a good direction, especially for Christians. I can foresee Christianity being a lot more persecuted here in the United States in the next 10 years. It's going bad. Yeah.
In the story, just one story, a factual deal about Jerusalem being captured by Babylon.
Right.
But didn't God have a plan in that?
Oh, yeah.
They had to march 700 and some miles. But his plan was to go try to teach the Babylon city about God, and he would only keep them there 70 years and return.
Part of that was punishment to them, and part of that was spread of that. So, we're headed for something. We're headed for something. All right. All minds clear? Go home tonight, and you're going to be up till 2 o'clock in the morning. All right. Let's pray. God, thank you so much for this time together tonight, Lord. And God, it's not a matter of us trying to create fear, create anger, but God, it's for us to understand where we're at and what you're trying to get us across to us. And God, the opportunities that we as Christians have right here in our town to be able to share Jesus with people who need to know Jesus. And God, it's not just Muslims. But God, there's people out there that just don't know God. They don't know you. They don't know anything about any of these things. God, I think about the Chinese family that I go and see usually every Wednesday night and get food at the restaurant. And God, they don't know Jesus. God, I pray that we will be able to witness to the people right here in our community that need to know you. God, give us a sense of urgency. God, help us to start with our families and then reach out to as many people as we can. God, we thank you what you're going to do through this church, through these people. And God, we pray that you'll open up our avenues to be able to share Jesus with people. And God, when the door opens, God, help us to jump through it. In Jesus' name, amen.